Good to go? Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call this meeting to order. Item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Being none, approval or amendments of the meeting agenda. We don't have any. Do we have any amendments? Nothing, okay. I have a draft motion. Be it resolved that council approve the agenda of the committee to hold meeting dated February the 2nd, 2021 as presented. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Pat and Joe. Is there any discussion? Yes, Angela.
When we approved the change from the CAO to clerk treasurer, did we accept the contract that we were talking about? Because it was removed from the last agenda. That's why I'm curious.
I'm not sure. Did we? Could you repeat your question, Angela?
Okay, on the last agenda for the this meeting that we're approving the minutes for, where there was supposed to be the contract for the interim CAO that we were going to discuss, it was removed. And when we approved the role change, did that mean we approved the contract? Or the name change, I should say. I'm just looking for clarification.
Yeah. The last council meeting, the bylaw was passed that included the name change and made reference to the
actual schedule. Sorry, you cut out, John. I can't hear you.
Yeah, can't hear you.
Your question is, was the schedule bylaw approved?
I still can't hear you.
Try that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Your question was the schedule approved? It was at the last meeting. The bylaw was approved for the appointment and the name change was approved for the appointment, and reference was made to the change in the schedule, which will come about, discussed tonight and brought to the next council meeting.
Are you calling the contract the schedule? I'm confused.
The schedule included the contract.
Okay.
Okay. Doug? All good? Anybody else have any questions? Okay. All in favor? Carried. Item 4, approval of minutes. Be it resolved that council approve the following minutes as presented. Regular council meeting of January 19th, 2021. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Bill and Pat. Do we have discussion? Go ahead, Angela. Oh, okay. No discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, is there any business arising from those minutes? None. Inquiries from members of the general public, of course, we don't have any. Okay, delegations and presentations, none either. Business arising from delegation or presentations, none either. Staff and committee reports, we don't have any. Item 10, correspondence for council's direction. 10.1, consideration whether discussion should be entered into with the library board to have the administrative responsibilities to be carried out by the town of Cobalt. Has everybody read the administrative report? Go ahead, Angela.
I kind of have a bit of a problem with that.
Okay.
Because it is going to increase the cost for the town. Omer's is significant, like not hugely, but that's going to add into the payroll costs for the town, as well as the salary.
Okay.
And then the time it's going to take to administer the library. They have a board of directors that's supposed to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I don't understand why they can't do it electronically, just like we're doing things electronically.
I can't answer that question. Other than the fact that maybe they don't have the knowledge.
And if we were to take it over, I don't agree with them continuing to do the performance evaluation of the library. If we're going to take it over and administer it, then we should be doing the performance evaluation.
Okay.
It's all, I would think it'd be all or nothing.
Good comments. Matt?
If they're not comfortable, what I got out of a lot of that was that they're not comfortable coming into the library in person to sign checks, things like that. If that's the case, and they are all, or I think the majority are very old, so I can see them being nervous about it. If we do take over paying the salaries and stuff like that, take over those things, then we should charge them at the end of this the full amount of what it costs the town, so that we recoup all our costs. It will take a little more time from our staff, but at least we should recoup all the rest of the costs. And I can understand them having trouble with the technology if they've never done it before. Look at how long it took us to get going on Zoom and get things sorted out. So if they don't have someone that knows how to do it that can help them, then they're sunk. So
okay. Matthew?
Where did the concerns originally come from? Is this a concern brought forward by the board?
This concern was from the employee, I guess, rather than the board. She wanted to work from home, and the board wanted her to work at the library.
Are the concerns with entirely for working at home, or are the concerns with going in to sign a check for payroll? It's a little muddy for me. And we're looking at an expense and giving our office and admin staff more responsibilities. And right now, I would believe that they're pushed to the limit.
Okay.
There are a number of concerns here for me, and I'd like some more clarification as to how this came about.
Point of order, Your Worship.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
We are now discussing in part an employee, and I think perhaps we should be going in camera if we're going to proceed on those lines.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. Anything else, Matthew?
Further to Councillor Wilcox's point, this is a matter for in camera, I believe.
Yeah.
There are a lot of layers here that we need to get into.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
What we're discussing tonight is whether council wishes to enter into discussions with the library board to come up with a memorandum of understanding on how administration works. Right now, there are some structural problems with the administration of the library board and structural problems with the administration's efforts. One of them is the payroll, of which we ended up paying the librarian today. So all we're doing today is, all I'm doing is seeking your direction to open up discussions with the library board once the ability of the board to meet happens. And all the points that were raised so far would be discussed in those discussions for a memorandum of understanding. So it's a matter of status quo, or do we look for a new arrangement?
Doug?
Just a few points in view of some of the comments from some of my fellow councillors. Firstly, it should be noted that the recommendations with regard to payroll, utility payments, etc., were a recommendation from our auditor. I passed that recommendation on to the library board. The library board asked if they could continue on their own, managing all of their affairs internally. So I just want to make council aware of that position. John's point is, I think, a valid one. There are some structural problems that are emerging that I think require some guidance from the town. And from that point of view, I think entering into discussions with the board, and I think that would please the board as well. I think they have made it clear to me that if the town wants to do anything, they would like to meet with council or council's representatives to thrash it out. So I think that would be the very best first move. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at there for now. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there for now. And we'll see where John can take this.
Okay. Angela?
I guess I understand, I think I understand what you're looking for. But in order to give direction about entering into discussion with the library board, I think further discussion needs to be had in camera first so that we can get into the nitty gritty about why this is happening and what exactly is being looked for without dancing around the subject.
Absolutely.
Hear, hear.
Okay. So that's the direction you want to give staff? We hold off until we go into the camera and, okay.
Yes, I would say let's go into camera tonight.
I don't think we can go into camera on Zoom. I'm not sure, but you'll have.
If I could, Your Worship, that's not a problem at all. I can bring a report to the next, a detailed report to the next council meeting and an agenda for going in camera and do it officially. This going camera should normally be a notice of the next meeting. So that's fine. I appreciate the concerns, and I will bring a report back for in-camera discussions.
Is that good for everybody? Doug? Good with that? Okay. Any other comments? Okay. 10.2. Council to consider moving to a one council meeting every 3 weeks and eliminate the need for a committee of the whole meeting. You have a report on that one also? Who wants to start? Go ahead, Doug.
I would point out to council, this was something like this was tried about 2 councils ago. It did not end well, and the Ministry of Municipal Affairs asked us to go back to the committee of the whole council meeting format. That meant, though, before the other one was having a meeting every 2 weeks, and I think too many things got crammed in too sharply, and there wasn't enough time to do any in-depth research on things. Going to every 3 weeks may make a difference, but if we choose to do that, I would like to put in a notice that we would review it at least annually to ensure that it's running properly. Thank you.
Angela?
Have we passed this by municipal affairs to make sure that we're still meeting our requirements for meetings?
Not at this time, no. I don't believe we have we?
We would be meeting our requirements, but if you wish, I can have that confirmed by municipal affairs.
I'd be more comfortable with that, yes.
Okay. Many communities go to 3 weeks, every 3 weeks.
Any other comments? Joe? Joe?
I really like Doug's idea. Let's do it for the year and then review if this proceeds. I like that.
Okay. Well, we'll check with municipal affairs first and get Angela's question answered, and then we can move on from there. Okay. Anything else? Okay, 10.3, consideration for a lease for the Bunker Military Museum. Has everybody had the opportunity to read the lease? This has been a long time coming. And I personally like it. What's your opinions? Angela?
Okay, I have a couple of things. One, was this passed by our legal counsel? I just want to double check that.
Hey, was this passed by a legal counsel? This lease? Just a second.
This particular lease, no, has not been passed through our legal counsel, although the framework for the lease was actually prepared by
Sorry, prepared by who?
Paul Cassan of Wishart.
Okay. And my only other comment is paragraph 5 under renewal. I'm not comfortable that it automatically goes into a 5-year period after the initial 5 years automatically. I don't know if that's standard for a commercial lease or not.
It is standard, and with the renewal of 5 years is always an opportunity to opt in, opt out, or terminate the lease under the termination provisions. The one area that we must say there was a little square footage. I was provided an amount that I think is incorrect. It's actually 5,000 square feet.
Go ahead, Angela.
I just wanted to explain why I was uncomfortable with that, because it's going to be a new council and the 5-year term is up. And are they going to know about this and think about this?
Well, the contract will be on file, so. Doug and then Pat.
Firstly, I'm pretty sure we'll all be reelected, so I'm not too concerned about that last point. Secondly, I've read the lease over. I think it answers all of our questions. It resolved a long outstanding problem we had. And so I'm very much in favor of it.
Matt.
Yeah, the Bunker Museum lease isn't the only lease that the town has with, and so all those other leases will carry over into other administrations too. So I don't think the 5 years is a problem.
Okay. Matthew?
After reviewing the lease, your worship, I'm in favor. Again, further to Councillor Wilcox's points, it addresses all the concerns that we did have.
Absolutely.
And as long as we hash this out with our legal counsel, I don't see any issues with it.
Good. Okay, any other comments? Bill? You're muted.
Yeah, I don't have any problems. I've been reading through it. The problems we did have was with the access with the key, I guess, to our maintenance department and the fire department. I think that's been taken care of in one of the clauses here. So yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Okay. So there's no problem with that then at all. We'll carry on. Any other questions, comments? Okay. 10.4, consideration of a request for financial assistance from the Bunker Military Museum. The Bunker are asking for $10,000 to get them over the hump. Go ahead, floor's open.
George?
Yeah.
If I can just comment, sorry to interrupt, but the Bunker, with their letter that's in the package, has asked for, in writing, they've asked for assistance in discussion with, during the lease discussions. The matter was raised of a standard 10,000 that they used to get in previous years. So it's not in writing here, but it's what was discussed when we were talking about the lease.
Angela?
I'm probably going to get shot for saying this. I understand everybody's been hit hard with COVID and tourism too. I'm a little concerned that we're going to be floating an enterprise that, due to the different measures that are in place, aren't really open for the public for the whole year, and yet the request remains the same. When there are other financial aids also out there, like, not every municipality funds their museums. And doing this before the budget even comes out for the full amount, that's, I don't know, that makes it very hard to swallow, because it's not just the businesses in the community that are going to struggle, it's also the municipality that has to figure out their extra costs as well due to the same circumstances. And I think that's something we all need to bear in mind.
Yeah. Okay. Doug?
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I'd like to know what the past practice has been. Have we always given them $10,000 per year plus the $5,000 from the legacy fund? Did they get to keep that, or was the legacy fund subtracted from the $10,000?
I'm sorry, Councillor Wilcox, we can't hear you. I don't see you as muted, but we can't hear you.
That's weird. Am I any better getting closer?
I can hear him.
Okay.
Try it again.
How are you doing now, John?
Perfect.
Okay, I'm wondering, perhaps an explanation from you as to why the $5,000 from the legacy fund would be taken back from our $10,000 that they're asking us for. I'm wondering what the previous practice was in years gone by. Did they assume they would get 10 and 5 from the legacy fund? If they were going to do this, would they be asking for 15 and giving us the 5 back so they still get the 10? I don't know, but I'd like to know. And the other thing is, to Angela's point, I think it's a valid one. If they're going to be closed, what are their actual expenses running a closed museum versus an open museum?
To answer the legacy question, the intent of the legacy was to sort of wean the museums off of being funded by the municipality. That was the whole intent of it. So the $10,000, my expectation is they might assume that they have 10 plus whatever the legacy is, but because of concerns such as was addressed by Councillor Adsett, I thought it was reasonable that we tie it to the legacy and take that back and see that they survive on that reduced budget.
Go ahead, Doug.
Then I would like to ask, is this also going to apply to the library and the mining museum? Both institutions depend on both the legacy fund and town support to a substantial amount.
Certainly that's a consideration of council. However, those two bodies have not asked for funding and not expressed the desperation that they be closed down within a month.
Okay. Any other comments, Doug?
Well, just that I would caution council that if what we do to one, we have to do pretty much to the others of the same ilk. Yep. So we best be careful on this one. Pat, would you have any idea on their finances and what they normally did in past practice?
Okay, I will speak to that then. The past few years, we did get the full 10,000, and then plus whatever we got from the different Temiskaming Foundation's funds, and that helped to carry us through. The $10,000 from the town only covers heat, hydro, phone, just those basic things, the basic bills that if it closed would end up coming back to the town because the town owns the space. So the, you know, that was the basis of the $10,000 to begin with. Way back when, I can't remember how far back. So that's what they need just to pay, to keep up the utility bills and everything. So they don't go into arrears, and then either they or the town ends up with even more costs.
Joe?
I would like to wait until the budget discussions on this. As Doug said, we give to one, we got to give to the others. I think we should wait.
Angela?
I'd just like to point out that there's a big difference between the library and museums. You know, and I said it during the budget last year or earlier. Yeah, last year. It's last year already. Once again, municipalities don't typically fund museums, but they do fund libraries.
Okay. Doug?
I note in their submission request, somewhere in there, I think they mentioned they would be pretty much bust going into the end of this month. So I'm wondering if we might advance them $5,000 to keep them going until the budget passes, and then make our decision when we're actually got a budget before us.
It's reasonable. What's your thoughts on that? Go ahead, Angela.
If it's being used to cover utilities, I don't have an issue with that. But from the way I read this, it's also to cover payroll for their part-time employee.
Okay, well, we can look into it a little further, John, and get back to council. How's that?
Yeah. Except that I note they were saying they are very short of funds right now. So I was thinking an interim payment of something might be helpful. 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, whatever.
What's the rest of council got to say? Matt?
Through your worship, I'm fine with looking after the general costs, utilities, so on and so forth, to help get them by. One way or another, we're going to be covering that anyway, whether they're open or closed. We still have to look after the utilities in the space. However, my concern comes with the part-time employee. I would like to see some sort of plan in place where they're looking at alternative funding to look after their employee. The employee is not detrimental to the well-being of our asset. Our asset is that building. The bunker does provide a significant service for our community in non-pandemic times. However, again, my concern would be financing that employee and hoping that they could do that without the assistance of the municipality.
Okay, so how be it? Go ahead, Bill.
I don't have a problem putting the utilities for now. Again, I do have a problem with the
Bill, you're muted.
I don't have a problem with floating the utilities for now, but I do have a problem floating the salary of the employee. And this may be a stupid question, but because of COVID, the place is closed down. Why do we have an employee there? What is he doing? What is she doing? Why are we paying for an employee, or why are they paying for an employee? Basically, the place is closed with COVID.
We can find out. Okay, the recommendation then would be to find out what the utilities are going to cost us.
That's it.
Is that a bit loud?
That's okay. I muted this.
Okay, find out what the utilities are going to cost us, and see if and go from there. How's that sound? Okay. Okay, that's the direction. Go ahead, Joe.
Also find out about the employee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Bill?
My question is, again, can somebody find out why they have an employee with COVID right now, with being shut down?
Yeah. Okay, so that's the direction. Go ahead, Joe.
We also informed that there is help for small businesses during this COVID time. There is some grants out there.
Okay. Okay, we'll look into all of these, have staff look into all of these concerns, and we'll bring it back to council. How's that sound?
Thank you.
Okay, 10.5. Consideration of doing upgrades to the head frame and the fire museum food bank to be funded through applications for gas sourcing. God, my sound is terrible. Okay, go ahead, Angela.
How close are we to having budget discussions? This is quite a hefty expense before a budget's approved. Because if we take from gas tax with this, it could take away from something else that may be required that could be funded under gas tax as well. And I'm not saying this isn't required. I'm just curious how close we are to budget.
We talked about that, didn't we, huh? 3 weeks? No.
I believe we will be able to present a budget to council at the end of the first quarter or beginning of second quarter. But one of the issues on this repair obviously is that it would be a high item in the budget process, but also that the contractor would like to do the work.
You keep fading out, John.
You want to mute? Okay, let's try that.
How's that?
So far, so good.
Okay. So, there have recommendations to affect repairs on the fire.
No, you're still dropping out.
Maybe get really close to your microphone.
How's that?
Much better so far.
So there was a recommendation to get costs on the repair of the fire museum.
No.
I don't know how I can help because I'm at full volume and I'm muted.
Go ahead, Matt. Just a second.
Your worship, can you mute your microphone?
Yeah, I can.
And Bill, you're muted. Your computer. Okay. Is that okay?
Thanks, Matt.
What were we talking about? Okay, well, there was a recommendation to proceed with repairs to the fire museum because it's structural, obviously. And as you know, when you go by the head frame, it's also structural. So it would meet on the top of the capital list to work at. And one of the major items is we attempted to get 3 quotes to do both the work. We're unsuccessful in doing that. The quotes that we have are from a firm that prefers to do the work in the winter, or so the shoulder season. And these are things that happen every now and then where work is required. It's not quite budget time, but a decision has to be made. And I'm comfortable with the decision of council. However, my recommendation is that we proceed with the repairs.
Go ahead,
Matt. Again, through your worship, I'm looking at estimates here to basically restore 2 of our assets. Assets in the town of Cobalt are something we should value greatly, considering our list grows shorter by every year. I'm in agreement with John in the respect that expenses like this come up and they don't always align with budgetary talks or budget time. And given that we have the 2 estimates here, and this firm does prefer to do this in the winter, I would be in support of moving forward with both of these jobs prior to the budget talks. Again, because they would be high on the list of things that we would have to do anyway, and they'd be a high priority item in the talks themselves.
I'm going to accept John's recommendation that we proceed with these repairs. Let's get it done. They are assets, and we need to get it repaired before it falls down.
Well, they're an eyesore in town, both of them. And the pricing's actually not too bad. But you're right, Angela, it is close to budget time. And if you're going to try to get these guys to do it after budget during the summer, good luck getting a contractor. That's my views.
Go ahead, Pat.
Oh, okay. Am I on there now? Yep. I had something else floating around the screen. Yeah, I think we should go ahead with it now while we've got the contractor. I agree. They get busy in the summer and things don't get done. Just one thing that when they were taking apart the bridge over by St. Pat's, they were going to try and save the 12 by 12s for the stiff legs. So we should take a look and check with them and see if they were able to recuperate those. First, because it saves us buying the timber. And second, because it's historic wood, historic timbers coming out of and going into another historic building. So historically, you know me, that's my bag. So, but otherwise, yes, I think we should go ahead. I know these things come up in the winter and you can't plan everything ahead of time.
Okay, so go ahead, Doug.
Just want to say I'm convinced from all of the comments that we just should proceed with this as soon as possible.
Angela?
And the only reason I asked about budget is I didn't realize they prefer to do the work in the winter, so I thought they were going to wait for spring anyway. And second of all, that being said, I'm also in agreement that we just go ahead. Like I said, it was just a curiosity question how close we were to budget.
Okay. So it sounds like it's unanimous. Good. Any other comments? No. Okay. I guess I should unmute.
Review of surface water testing project for Cobalt wetlands. So what do we require on this one?
There will be a report coming to the council meeting in 2 weeks with a recommendation that we apply for funding under the gas tax to complete the work necessary for us to get a certificate of approval for the wetlands project. That report's not ready yet.
Questions? Joe?
Why was it stalled?
We don't know.
Well, I would really like to know that.
Well, we can get right and find out for you.
Okay. And is this something that we have to do with Maria's story? I think we had a meeting there about sampling all over God's earth country for this.
Okay, let's leave the name out of it. We're not sure, Joe. We'll have to look into it.
Okay.
Bill?
I'm really disappointed. It says here in this letter, this effort has stalled. The ministry has not followed up with any of their commitments and are not responding to requests for updates. I'm very disappointed. I'm not sure if this is bungled bureaucracy or they're going to turn around and say, blame it on the COVID, that their employees are busy with other stuff. But when they make a commitment to have something in place, they should be held accountable. This is a ministry. And I know when I worked for the Ministry of Labor, when we made commitments, we had to follow up and we had to give answers. And I'm just not sure why they are not responding. And as to Councillor Dubé's comments, I would like to know also why.
I don't know if it's possible to get a hold of somebody and say, like, how can we be in non-compliance when we're not getting any responses from them? That boggles my mind. Like, I get how we can be in non-compliance, but how can they enforce that when they're not even upholding their end of it?
If you remember last, you hear me at all?
Toronto, Victor, myself.
Last January, we went to Toronto, Victor, myself, our engineer, Maria, Story Environmental, and we spoke to the Minister of the Environment. Ever since that, we have not had a response from that office at all. CAO Hodgson has tried at several occasions to try and get through to the minister's assistant. Nothing has come back to us. So non-compliance is basically out of the North Bay office, I believe. Yeah, go ahead, Angela.
Is there any way we can get Jan? Is there any way we can get John Vantoff involved in this?
Yeah, we can try, sure.
And see if we can enlist his aid and explain the situation that we're not getting any response out of this office.
John has been aware of our situation the whole time, but we can talk to him again. Anyone else?
George?
Go ahead, Bill.
I would recommend that we follow up with get the ombudsman involved. That would light a fire up their ass. The other thing is, there something that we didn't do or that we didn't follow up on? Is maybe why they're not giving us answers? Do you know? Is it something from our contractor?
Not our contractor, no.
Not our contractor, no.
Okay.
Lack of communications over the years.
Lack of communications over the years.
Okay.
Then I would say.
Well, then I would say that if we're waiting for the answer, I think an avenue that you might want to consider is to contact the Ombudsman office.
Matt?
Your Worship, you have 3 open microphones there, and it's very difficult to hear what's going on because it chews up bandwidth. It's trying to source the signal from 3 terminals, and it's having a hard time. So,
okay,
if we could all just mute and have one person open at a time, that's going to help. Further to the point of that the Councillor Gabani's making, we have to hold this ministry accountable. We cannot go with dead air and non-compliance. And I understand CAO Hodgson has done everything he's done or needs to, or everything he could do in order to get in contact. But I think it's time to get our MPP involved. I believe that mobilizing John Vantoff and his staff will take the pressure off our staff to get in contact, and we can put the ball in their court. If they don't want to listen to us, that's why our MPP is there, to help us with situations such as this. And he has a better line to these ministries than, say, we do at the present time, at least.
Perfect. Anyone else? Matt? Go ahead, Matt.
The North Bay office, right from the very beginning, was against this project. And they have constantly put up every barrier they could. What they wanted, of course, was us to spend millions and millions and millions on a piece of concrete block out there to do the same job as our wetlands are doing very nicely.
Point of order.
So it's been years and years of roadblocks and ignoring us and then blaming it back on us. So yes, get the MPP.
Point of order, Pat. Pat?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Okay. What the heck's going on here now? Okay. Okay, everybody, we're going to talk to John Vantoff. John will give direction to council to staff to talk to John Vantoff. This thing is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For some reason, I'm not sure what happened there. Things that we're always worried about, but there's a picture superimposed on the mayor. I'm not sure where it came out of.
Okay. Hey,
So let's
I don't know what happened.
Let's
Go
proceed
ahead.
until that happens again.
Okay, go ahead, Angela.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Angela.
The picture that was his Santa picture, and I believe that came from possibly his own background.
Probably from my own, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
I was
think
gonna tell
anybody
people that
hacked
later.
us and did it.
No.
No, no.
Okay, so we're going to talk to.
Okay, so we're going to talk to, go ahead, sorry, Doug.
Go ahead, Doug.
Go ahead,
Thank you,
Doug.
Your Worship. I would ask that we not overlook Councillor Gabani's suggestion of contacting the Ombudsman as well. I think it's important at times that we throw as much firepower as we can at this. You know, where our rep is not a member of the cabinet or anything like that, so we're not going to see a lot of progress necessarily. But I'm sure John Van Hoff will do the best that he can do. I don't know if he can be listened to the way we would like him to be. Sometimes the Ombudsman's the next best route. So I would certainly like to see that one way or another proceed. You know, we've always been out of compliance with these guys ever since the director's original initiative. But it's important that we get this done and get it behind us so that we can get on with planning other things in this town and save some money from all of these tests.
Okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Your mic's not good?
Your mic's still on, yeah? No. Okay. Okay, so is anybody else? So staff will look further into this and we'll try and get John on board and possibly check with the Ombudsman to try and get this thing moving like everybody wants to go. It's a system that works. It always has worked. And if we get the ministry behind us, it can even, save us a lot of money. Okay. Any other questions on that? No comments, nothing. Okay. 10.7, appointment bylaw considerations for Councillor Matthew Johnson to be municipal member of the municipalities of the Provincial Offence Act Committee. Is there any questions, comments? I think you'd do a great job at it, Matt. Good luck, Pat.
Yep. Good.
Go ahead, Pat.
Oh.
You're muted. Okay, go ahead.
You want me to talk, Your Worship? Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Sorry, I just, no, I think Matthew will do a great job. Just get us a fair share of the loot, Matt.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I've been watching Matt for a couple of years now, and I think he's doing a great job. And I think he'll make a great attack dog on this committee and just go get him and get us some action.
Okay, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Through you, Your Worship, I appreciate everybody's vote of confidence, and I will gladly represent Cobalt on this board should we be successful in being appointed by the other municipalities, or if the other municipalities are in favor. Thank you.
That's it for that. Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, man, be
Joe,
careful.
go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Just be careful, Matt. You might lose the rest of your hair. Eh?
Okay, so there's no direction to pass a motion at next meeting. Okay. Update on progress to designate right-of-way head frame. Go ahead, John. I'm going to turn this off.
This matter was brought before the previous council, has lagged for some reason. The Historical Society has wanting us to reintroduce it. So there will be a recommendation coming to council next week so that we do a notice of intention to designate the municipal heritage, a municipal heritage property being the right-of-way head frame.
Okay. Questions, comments? Open for discussion? Go ahead, Pat.
I honestly didn't realize that it wasn't already a heritage site, so I'm all for it. And let's speed on ahead with it.
Okay, everybody else is in favor? Awesome. Okay,
correspondence for council information. 10.9, sorry.
Stay-at-home order to expire.
Stay-at-home order to expire February 29th, 2021. Council to consider sending a resolution to the province of
Sorry, Your
Ontario
Worship.
to lift the limitation.
Is your microphone on, John?
Sorry, is your microphone on, John?
Me.
Okay, hey, there you go. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. That better? Okay, 10.9, stay-at-home order to expire February 29th, 2021. Where am I at? Council to consider sending a resolution to the province of Ontario for the lift the limitations on small businesses in Cobalt. I'm sure everybody is in favor of that one. Go ahead, Angela.
Unfortunately, no, I'm not. With the new variants now being detected in Sudbury and the cases going up in Porcupine and in Sudbury, I'm actually kind of very uncomfortable with that. I think that we might be a bit premature. I would say let's wait and see what the province is going to announce, because from everything I read over the weekend, the Chief Medical Officer for Canada is recommending that they do not reopen everything too soon.
Go ahead, Doug. Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Go ahead, Doug.
I just wanted to note that the Premier of Quebec, in his wisdom, said he was going to open up in settled, in less harmed areas to give the businesses a little bit of oxygen, quote unquote. And I think some oxygen is desperately needed for some of our small businesses. And I agree with Angela, there's a fine line between COVID and variants of COVID and the kinds of things that we might be in for. So I would hope there would be some kind of an agreement where we could have them try to reopen in some sort of a safer manner. Again, very much in like the big box stores, limiting the number of people who can be in to 1 or 2, that kind of a thing at a time. And masks and all, social distancing, all that good stuff. But, you know, they say 1 in 6 small businesses may be about to expire in this province if this carries on much longer. So it's becoming a very serious program, a very serious problem for small businesses. Thank you.
Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
I believe that Councillor Wilcox is on the right path. As a small business owner myself, I understand the pain that this pandemic's caused, but as someone with a very compromised immune system, I also understand the severity of what's going on out there with regards to the pandemic. There are 4 variants out there right now, one even more nastier than the next or the previous. And we really have to be cognizant about what we do here. While I am in favor of sending a letter to the provincial government, I would like to see very strict criteria as to how we're going to reopen. A plan in place that protects the business owners as well as the general public. Business owners are integral. Small businesses are integral to our local economy, and we need to ensure that we're keeping their best interest in mind while delicately balancing everybody else's at the same time. a proper plan needs to be in place. And that's coming from myself. My business is deemed as an essential service, so I haven't been nearly as affected as some of the other businesses in town. But I can tell you, in discussions with surrounding communities and business owners in the surrounding communities, the pain is very real. And a lot of these businesses are week to week. It's not month to month anymore. So we need to be very careful as to how we approach this. But I am in favor of putting something forward to the provincial government.
Okay. Angela? Go ahead, Angela.
I agree with the comments, and yeah, if we were to advocate small businesses opening, I think that under very strict circumstances, and who's going to keep an eye on it as well to make sure that it's being adhered to, because there's already been an instance of protocols not. Actually, I'll stop there. But I'm really leery, because you give an inch, and there's always one that's going to take a mile, and that's my main concern. I want to see our small businesses survive. I agree with Matthew; they're an integral part of our communities.
Bill?
I was talking to one of my former partners that worked for the ministry, and he's saying they've completely gone. They're doing all the COVID inspections of the workplaces to make sure they have a plan and everything's in place. So you may want to contact them to see what they got. But I'm sure if there's a small, I mean, first of all, let me say I'm in support of sending a letter. But if you feel uneasy that maybe somebody's not complying or is not following the rules, I guess there is a line that you can call. They'll come down and they'll do the inspection. And they have been giving out tickets and fines, from what I understand. So I think we can fall back on that. And I believe that, if there's our concerns, that we have somebody we can call, take care of it.
Yep. Okay, Matt.
Your worship, my question is for John. John, I believe the province, when they announced enforcement, also gave bylaw officers particular enforcement rights as well. Maybe we can look into that and outline how we can involve our bylaw official for direct enforcement within our community, should we be successful in asking, or in our attempt to ask to reopen our businesses within our community itself. The businesses in town here, and speaking with them, they're not asking for much. A lot of them are very, very content with a curbside service or very, very limited numbers within their store. And speaking with a number of the other businesses, a lot of them were doing all the right things. Compared to big box stores, small businesses have a much better control over who enters their space. They record the people that enter their space. They know them typically very well because we're in such a small community, and they have better disinfection methods because they have a smaller square footage, and just the overall controls in place in a small business are far better than those of our big box competitors that are right now crushing small business throughout Ontario. And we need to be cognizant of that. And in the letter, not only do we need to outline a plan, but we need to advocate for these businesses, outlining those strengths that the small businesses have. If we do not bring to light how the controls can be set in place that many of the businesses already have in place, we're not going to be overly successful. However, if we play to the strengths of a small business, I believe that we can gain some significant traction. And we need to include our local bylaw official for enforcement, as well as the Ministry of Labor.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, I understand the variance, and that's a big concern, because if this mutates, my question is, and I think everybody else's question should be, is the vaccination going to protect us against those against the mutation? And I think we really need to be worried about that. But I think another concern is the rollout for the vaccinations are not happening. And today, Premier Ford was very disappointed with the federal approach, saying that, they're not quite sure when we're going to get the vaccinations. So again, we need to proceed with caution, because the variants, if this thing mutates, I don't know when our vaccinations are going to fully protect us.
Yep. Angela?
It was announced today that the African strain that was detected in southern Ontario, and I know we all heard this the last time with the UK strain, they've not had any contact with any international travelers, so they're really unsure how they got it. And that's why I'm preaching caution. And as for vaccinations, the last I heard, we're looking at September, October in Northern Ontario. The long-term care homes are the priorities.
Okay. Very good. Go ahead, Pat. Pat?
I honestly don't think our small businesses are going to survive through to the fall. And personally, if it comes a choice between going into a small business to pick up something or going into a big store, like some of them we've got here, I'll take the small business every time, because I feel they're better protected in there. We're better protected. The owners are better protected. They're looking after things much, much better. So if some way we can get some at least partial openings, I think it would benefit our small businesses throughout the whole area. And so I would see what's happening. And the other, just one little thing, our notes say February 9th, and you were saying 29th. Do we know which date it is? They're going to make a decision?
February 9th is when the order is, the emergency order is up, so.
Okay, yeah.
We'll have to go from there. Go ahead, Bill.
So that was just a misspeak then. Okay.
Okay. Okay, I agree with all of your comments. I think we're all on the same page. I think smaller businesses open up a heck of a lot safer than big businesses do. Like everyone said, they have controls in place, and that they need the money. It's been too long and it's been too hard. And I think if they're cautious, it'll be okay. That's my point, anyways. Anybody else have anything to add to? Okay. 10.10, administration clerk in the water and tax payroll department has enrolled with the Ministry of Finance Officers Association of Municipality Finances 101, a fundamental course.
Give her some cross training, I believe.
That's to give her some cross training, I believe. John, do you want?
Just an update that staff is taking training on the finance side through the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers, and getting a rounder experience in education and the best practices happening out there now.
George, you're muted.
I thought you'd appreciate that. Be it resolved that council accept the correspondence items as presented. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Matt and Doug. Any discussion on the items? All in favor? Okay, all in favor. Let's go. Is there any other business? No closed session, no business from the closed session. Confirmation bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2021-5 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Corporation of the Town of Cobalt. Yeah, still not working? Well,
Your Worship,
Doug, go ahead.
I understood we were going to go to closed session to discuss the library.
It's not, it wasn't on the agenda, no.
Not at the next meeting.
Not at the next meeting.
What's that? Okay, hang on. I'll let John.
What's that? Okay, hang on. I'll let John.
Go ahead.
I mentioned that I am preparing a report with all the details that were requested so that I can bring it to the next meeting and schedule in a closed meeting in 2 weeks' time to discuss the matter.
Good. That going to work, Doug?
Is that going to work, Doug?
Okay. Be it resolved.
Okay. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2021-5 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the corporation of the town of Cobalt be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed the second day of February 2021. And further, that said bylaw be signed by the mayor, clerk, and recorded in the bylaw book. A mover and seconder, please. Angela and Joe. All in favor? Doug, are you? Okay, all in favor, carried. Adjournment. Be it resolved that committee of the whole meeting of council be adjourned at 7:39. Mover and seconder, please. Is this thing even working? Matt and Bill, all in favor? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This was a difficult one to get through. Talk to you all later.